Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nasty Gram RPG podcast. This is Dark Legacy, Episode 7, Let There Be Light.
Feeling it too hard is the poison to the heart of a cynic. Redemption. Now I'm waking to pain.
All right, Wakara, I've had just about enough. Oh, I think you know what. You've been chuckling up in my brain space going on a day now. I mean, Osano put one over on us, and we mistook a black bear for Mr. Marlowe's ma. I reckon that warrants some laughing, but you gotta stop. Yeah, I said it. You got an ugly laugh. No, there weren't no lines for drying fish. And maybe what the other Tutelo said should have tipped me off, but you've been up in there long enough to know I ain't the sharpest knife in the rack. It was nice to see Mr. Burke and Mr. Fastnot having make nice on the road, talking about being men of reason under God and whatnot. And after we did away with that bear, I told you to quit laughing. They calls her the mother of the mountain. What were we supposed to think? And I weren't surprised to learn from a Sheila that a Dawson killed Mr. Marlowe's pa. But Mr. Walter Tandon was there as well? Well, I'll be. Yes, Wakara, I did see the fish lines at a Sheila's hut. But did you see my wounds? Weeks, maybe months of healing overnight. How'd she manage that? What's that? What about the story? The wolf and the fire? Oh, I don't know. It was good enough folktale, I suppose, but what of it? Mr. Beauclair dreamed he was the predator in that tree, and then he climbed the tree. So, should I bring a torch to some wolves now? I heard that sigh. But that scene at the cabin was worse than the massacres in the Black Hawk War. And we didn't see any hide or hair of Mr. Marlowe at the cabin. We made haste to his house, and he was shaken, but safe. Jewelry? Why I gotta be looking at jewelry now? Sometimes I just don't know with you.
Hey, this is Jake, your storyteller.
Hey everyone, this is Dan playing Silas Keene, the photographer.
Hey everyone, it's John playing Noah Fashnacht, the gunsmith.
Hey guys, it's Ryan. I'm playing Les Kershaw, the erstwhile equine courier who's just trying not to be grievously wounded this week.
This is Josh playing Kingsley Burke, whose world has been somewhat torn asunder.
And I'm Matt playing Benton Beauclair, who's just having a normal Saturday.
Just chill.
All right, so did everyone do their homework and listen to the last episode? Because it was a doozy. A lot of shit happened.
We did.
A lot
we did
went
indeed.
down.
Yep.
You did?
Yeah.
Yep. So I get a point of willpower back.
Oh, well, pretty early on here, speaking of willpower, in just a moment, I will have you guys make some rolls for the horrific scene in the woods that you came upon. But I was kind of saving that for...
we already moved past that. It's too late for you to do that.
No,
it was in the last
We're
podcast.
saving that mental trauma.
Can I get the 1 point for listening before I make that roll?
Well, I will give you a chance to... does anyone have any suggestions for willpower rewards for any players?
Good question.
Well, my storyteller hasn't provided me with an easy sheet to reference
I know,
for everyone
right?
else's
That would be
With
cool.
arrows.
ability.
That would be cool.
Arrows, color-coded,
I was
perhaps.
too busy fucking researching bullshit for Matt this week, which we'll get to in a minute, but...
You asked for opinions. Next time, if you don't want opinions, don't ask. I thought you were married. We can cut that, right?
Any ideas?
Sarah doesn't listen to this. That's right.
I'm thinking of... honestly, I want to give one for Ryan for his recap last week, almost alone.
I haven't heard it yet.
Did you not listen to the goddamn episode, Dan?
It wasn't on the sixth episode.
No, it's on the one before.
Absolutely.
That would
it
have
not?
been episode 5.
Yeah, and it wasn't on there when I listened to
So
it.
episode 6 would be Dan's recap.
So you're slacking
No.
is what it
Which
is. Your editing
was
is
excellent,
just
which was
atrocious.
Cut.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start with awarding some willpower. Let's go ahead and as much as you guys annoyed me because it went on far too long, let's give Josh and Dan both a point of willpower for their debate about what is and isn't possible. I think Silas and Kingsley kind of came to a bit of a head, but it was good. It was good role-playing moments talking about bookkeeping.
It's hot. I mean, what was the?
It's a good shit.
Someone asked us in the previous one. Did I just listen to you guys write an email for an hour?
How many points for fish drying racks that Dan
Love
has
it.
conjured into this world?
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I guess I don't even think Matt needs one because I think Benton's up on inspiration, but I think his fitting in with the worldview perspective of Ashila from his own perspective, and kind of there was a cool interaction with Kingsley chimed in to agree with something that Benton said and was totally off on his perspective. Just that Benton's perspective is so outside where the rest of us are, but I think he's been very consistent with it.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Well, for those of you who didn't do your homework, let me try to give a quick recap of some of the important points that we're not going to want to ignore. So you went and spoke to Ashila, which is Marlowe's mother, and she kind of filled in some of the blanks about some of the people around town who you have met and their ancestors, and suggested that the deaths of Marlowe's father and grandfather were a little bit more insidious than the reports suggested. You found out that, in fact, according to her, there were no natives, or as the report said, there were no disgruntled Indians anywhere near Marlowe's father when he died. And in fact, it was the two men he had been traveling with who killed him. One of those men is alive. In fact, Benton met that man and spoke to him, and then had a weird dream about him that night. And I know you had talked about looking into that a little bit more. I'll let you do that when we actually start proper here. But that is definitely an important point. You also learned that Marlowe's grandfather, who was Adam Marlowe, who died in a mining accident, you found out that the men that were trapped in the cave-in with him, one of them was actually the father of one of the guys who ambushed you. So there's definitely a lot of family connections in town, and you started to realize that this plot goes deeper than you had
Generational
suspected.
Conspiracy is what we came up with.
Yep, I like that.
Multi-generation.
Multi-kill.
What else? Oh, yeah. Well, Benton had another dream about James Marlowe being attacked while hiding out in that cabin. And when you got back there, you found out that it was true. Something came out of the trees and killed all the men that seemed to have been sent to kill Marlowe. So some sort of beast protected him and left behind it a horrifying scene. It looked like a battleground that some of you are all too familiar with and ready to forget about. You rushed back to his house, where you found that he had sort of barricaded the house, dismissed all of the house staff, and was basically waiting at the window with a rifle, making sure no one approached. He's kind of in a state of panic and at the moment, and kind of ready to shoot anyone who comes up to the house besides all of you. And he let you in, and you kind of tried to talk him down a little bit. And then you met his wife, finally. We're 7 games in here, and you finally met his wife, Lydia, who is wearing a ring that matches the handprints that you found in the mud.
She's wearing both rings.
Both
to be
rings,
specific.
yes.
Pinky and wedding.
That's right. And that's where we ended. All right.
I was kissing said hand. Yes?
Yeah.
You were. And we will pick it up right there.
All right.
So I forget this actress's name. Give me one moment. Suck. How did I not write this down? I know Dan has watched this show because we've talked about it. Molly Parker. That's the actress that would play her. If the most recent thing she has been in is the new Lost in Space series on Netflix, but she is also in Deadwood, which is a while ago, so she's a little bit older now. She's got kind of brownish red hair with a couple streaks of gray in it. Good looking older woman, kind of hazel colored eyes, fair complexion. Definitely has not worked a day in her life. Whatever she did before she married James Marlowe, she had money. Yeah. Not bad for 50.
Not bad.
And
Not bad for a
she
werewolf.
is standing there looking at you as you hold her hand, and you are not aware of how much time has passed, Silas.
Yep.
And she says, Mr. Keene, are you with us?
My eyes kind of slowly blink from looking at her hand, and I look up at her face.
She looks at her hand and then looks back at you. And you think there might be a realization there. You're not sure. But then she smiles and she says, it's a pleasure to meet you.
He kind of
I wish the circumstances were different.
he kind of fumbles for a second, and he kind of stammers, yes, it's a pleasure to meet you as well, ma'am.
She turns towards the children and she says, Constance, bring your brother and sister to the kitchen. Make sure the back door is locked and stay away from the windows. Get the fire going. I'll be there in a moment. I imagine that you men are hungry. I understand you've been on the road most of the day. We've dismissed the staff, but I know my way around the kitchen a little bit.
Thank you, ma'am. That would be most kind.
James says, thank you, honey. And he goes over and gives her a kiss on the cheek, holding the rifle in one hand. And then she leaves. She walks away.
Position-wise, all of my fellow team members, are they standing like kind of right behind me?
You're kind of all spread around
Yep.
the entry hall of the house. So imagine this big like room that goes up to the up 3 stories and is all open with a big chandelier above you, staircase that heads up to a balcony, and a bunch of kind of side doors around the room, and you're kind of just spread around this room.
And I happen to be sort of where she was when she made
You
her
were
entrance.
just the closest
Yep.
one,
Okay.
right? That's why she introduced herself to you, and then kind of quickly dismissed herself with this excuse of making food. And you do feel like maybe there was a realization, at the very least, of that you were spooked.
Sure. Yeah.
And any of you who have, is it notice? Is that the skill?
There is
Insight.
insight.
Awareness.
So anyone with 2 or more in awareness, you pick up on this whole interaction.
I think insight is more reading people. Awareness.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right. So you're right. It'd be insight.
So 2 or more insight.
We'll say this: 2 or more insight, you pick up on the weird social interaction. 2 or more awareness, you notice the ring.
Sweet.
I got both.
Me too. Yeah.
Nice.
So I have both. Do I know that
Well,
I was
you are-
shook and I saw the ring? Do I
Yeah, you know all that. Yep.
Yes. So good at this game.
Silas.
Marlowe seems himself very distracted by this whole situation. He kind of goes over and looks out the window again of the front door, and he comes back and he says, it was a massacre out there. I don't know what it was. I couldn't see it. I just heard men shouting. I heard screams. One of them ended up on the damn roof.
In the backdrop of all of this, you can see Silas standing behind Marlowe, like leaning up against, like the balustrade, obviously like trying to gather his wits about what's transpired.
Kingsley's back is to everyone. He's over at his attaché and drawing a pull of laudanum which I actually don't know what that looks like.
Don't do drugs, kids.
You don't know how to do drugs.
And then immediately moving somewhat shakily to the bar.
Are you going to mix and match?
And pouring a
crossfaded.
whiskey.
Yeah, it was quite the sight, Marlowe. Something was protecting you, yeah?
Protecting me? You think that monster, whatever did that, you think it an ally?
I reckon it is.
You made it here, did you not, Mr. Marlowe?
Those men were out to kill you.
He did not attack you, just them.
I believe same critter probably showed up at the train tracks.
It has some affection for you.
Noah says, there is some darkness that surrounds you, and his eyes flick over past where the doors are leading out to the kitchen.
I reckon it does, Mr. Keen.
Kingsley does have two, an insight and awareness, but I don't think he noticed either of those things just because of how rattled
Yeah.
he is. I think he is wholly trapped in his own head of dealing with a worldview that has been completely shattered. I think everybody else, all these other characters, had some opening to the possibility of what they just experienced, and Kingsley is really stuck processing this.
Marlowe goes back over to the window and again looks outside. And then he says, oh, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He says, we've got clear line of sight to the tree line. It's at least 100 yards on every side of the house. He points up. He says, there's a widow walk. I think we set up at least for the night, we set up watches up there. Keep an eye on the grounds, make sure no one approaches the house.
Who do you think is coming?
I don't know.
Who could be left? Did you recognize any of the men before they were massacred?
I didn't stop to look.
Yes,
Looks
James.
like you, Mr. Marlowe.
Those men that were out there, you have no idea were they people of Black Valley or outsiders? Do you have any knowledge of it? There's something I don't know if I mentioned. I can't recall. Something I heard from one of the workers about a Father Stewart in town having meetings in the church, something beyond church business, kind of secretive. A young man named John Basker told me about it, and I think this could be tied to the whole conspiracy. Maybe all these men were part of whatever cult or organization.
There was, a dozen of them?
Jake, is there anything that any of us really, I guess, can recall from the bodies that may have identified them as from
I do think that in the last game, you guys did ask about that. And since none of you were from the town, you didn't recognize any of them.
Sure.
But I had mentioned that they were traveling very light. No one had like camping gear or anything like that. And just because you're where you are, there's no other towns anywhere close. So unless they had set up a camp and then just left with the bare necessities, then yeah, it stands to reason that they came from the town. Like not even like, extra water or anything. Like, yeah.
I think Silas pushes off the railing and he kind of stands up straight and he says, there aren't many other choices for these townsfolk to have come from anywhere else. It's very likely that they are from your town, and now their absence will be noted.
Well, we'll know pretty quick if 12 men are dead from our town, and then the 2 from the factory, the other 2 from the railroad.
James, if there is a darkness that surrounds your family, would you not want to get rid of it, yeah? Should we not perhaps speak to these men of God? Perhaps they can help you.
What makes you think they won't just kill you?
I don't know. Whatever they are doing to your family, to you, there is a purpose. There must be. It is not senseless, yeah?
He nods. He says, I'm going to go up to the widow walk. Please clean up and have some dinner, and then talk it over, decide what's next. But try to get some rest, and if we can take shifts later, I don't think I'll be sleeping much tonight, but perhaps in 3 or 4 hours if someone wants to relieve me.
Before you go, Mr. Marlowe, I do have a question. Mr. Tandan, the ancestors, they showed me a vision of him helping free slaves into your house. Do you know?
He says, Mr. Tandon. You mean Mr. Tandon, who lives in town?
Oui. Grandpa Tandan, they call him. He knew your grandfather.
They were close. He knew my father, actually, very well. What about him?
Did he help during the war and before to bring people north on the railroad?
He did. Me and Octavius, that's the head butler. Me and Octavius, we knew about it, and we decided the best thing to do was for us to pretend we didn't know about it. We turned a blind eye to missing food stocks and the occasional murmured voice that we might have heard. And when wagons came through, light on supplies and ready to load up supplies that weren't heard of, we pretended not to notice. We thought that would be prudent. But yes, I believe that that Walter Tandon was the main orchestrator of that movement here in Black Valley.
What about here in this house? A basement. Another way in.
I don't know of any. Although there was a difficult time, and for the most part, I wasn't at the house. It's possible that they used the basement. I don't know of another way in, though. But it may be worth making sure. We don't want to be ambushed in the night.
Perhaps instead of the widow walk, you stay inside to make sure there's no other way in. Yes?
Well, I want to make sure I can see every possible approach to the house.
We do. You say sidelines out all the windows. You have us here.
It's a really big house, Matt. So it'd be kind of impossible to cover every. I mean, basically, if you guys all you'd have to. It's just not practical with the size of the house. You'd all have to kind of be awake and looking out different windows to keep an eye on it, as opposed to one person essentially on the roof who can kind of cover the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this also lets you guys talk with
Benton, did this gentleman tell you that there was a tunnel here?
No. The ancestors.
One of his dreams, which seems to come true.
Not all.
Then we should look for it.
Yeah.
Can you lead us, Benton?
No. Not right now. We need to rest.
Well, gentlemen, I'll be upstairs. Ask my wife if you need anything. I'm sure she'll have food for you soon.
Danke. Don't
Merci.
forget you need rest as well, yeah?
Yeah, 3, maybe 4 hours. There's more bullets in my study if you need them. You see he's got a box of shells.
Yep.
And he walks upstairs.
Silas walks into the kind of group of us and looks at everyone in turn. You all saw it. You all saw it? Wow. Talking.
Wow.
What does Silas sound like this week?
Yeah.
The spy.
You all saw the rings, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same as you described on the handprint.
It is the same. I hold out the small sketchbook that I have, and it's kind of, a very accurate depiction of the prints that were in the mud, and very clearly the ring on the pinky and the ring on the wedding finger. She is something else, something that guards him, something that protects him.
It appears that she perhaps recognized what you recognized and made a swift exit. Noah kind of strolls over to the bar next to Kingsley and pours himself like a whiskey.
She must know that we mean him no harm.
Yeah.
Kingsley kind of jumps a little bit as you walk over to the bar. He's staring out a window and clearly kind of not been paying attention to what was being said or half paying attention, and turns and looks at you and goes, what is this about rings now? And
From Marlowe, her hand has the same rings as we found in the mud. Same handprints. Would it seem like she recognized when Silas recognized her hand?
She knows we know.
we know what?
She is something else.
What is it? What happened out there? Benton, this dream that you had, what is this thing? What is this connection? What are you a part of? What kind of spirit, or is this some sort of a voodoo spirit? Is this some sort of devil or demon?
You think they are one and the same, huh? Voodoo is demons. I
think the men have always looked for something to fill the voids beyond reason. And now I find myself reckoning with things well beyond the realm of reason. And all I know is that you had some sort of connection to this. And I'm asking you as a companion and as a friend of Marlowe, if you can shed any light or understanding on what it is that we are dealing with here.
I cannot. I tell you everything I know already. I have been honest.
You share dreams with her.
No.
Then
The
how do you know these
ancestors, they
things?
share their dreams and visions with me. Whether they come from her, I do not know. I am more of a vessel. Like in your go book, huh? You think then your Moses, he had their visions? His prophecy? Same book.
There's a story of Part in the Sea that many things are stories and parables.
How you know that's not true?
Prove it.
Make it happen.
Fucking prove it.
There is not a point. I told you when I had the vision. It will be hard to explain.
Do you all believe that Marlowe's wife is, and whatever it is that did that, are one and the same?
What we
No.
do know is that she was there at the tracks.
You know that she wears rings that correlate with a print that you saw.
Maybe she loaned him out to the critter. Is that what you're thinking, Mr. Burke?
There
Mr.
are others-
Burke, I have a keen eye and a keen memory. I can assure
Got
you
a
they
name
are one
pun?
in the same. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a surname all along.
I assure you they are one in the same.
Very well. So if that is fact or a hypothesis, we'll accept it as that.
Silas nods.
Then she was there. That is a great leap to say that there's any connection between whatever creature assailed those men, assailed the man that accosted us, and wrecked that horrible scene.
Yeah, that is true. We
I
do
agree.
not know that the connection exists. But the question I have is, if there is a darkness, a demon that perhaps is protective of James, some evil that surrounds his family, is it not our duty to perhaps vanquish it?
Silas is shaking his head negatively. He says, so far, she has, or it has, Silas corrects himself, only done what we have not been able to, which is keep him safe.
At the cost of all those men's lives, yeah? Perhaps they're...
They're a murderous crowd.
How do you know that their cause is not just? That there is some evil that exists in this town?
Why
that
are they
needs to
so
be-
furtive about it then? Why do they hide? Why do they attack him in the night?
I know that there is no darkness beyond the painful experiences of war and life in James Marlowe. So
Yeah.
I must accept that those that would wish to do him harm, they are the ones that are coming from darkness. Well, that does not even come close to explaining what we are dealing with here, but they are trying to kill a man that we know is good and just.
And therefore we are on the same side. Whatever is out there.
The,
There is a plan for all of us. Yeah? His
Yeah.
plan?
God has a plan, yeah?
You believe? How do you know the good and just man? Maybe the plan in the end is not so good and just.
The kitchen door opens. And Lydia Marlowe is standing in the doorway.
Jake, has Kingsley was a long time friends of James. Have I met her before?
Yeah, you've met her mostly at like social events.
Okay.
So you probably know her
don't-
werewolf hearing is
so-
really good.
You probably haven't had many conversations with her that weren't like very proper.
Right.
Pleasantries.
But that would probably be normal for the time.
Right.
Gentleman to gentleman's wife.
Right. Yeah. You haven't like given her like a back massage or anything.
I could tell if there's any wings there if I did. Yeah, these would get some bad knots. Some real tough knots.
But you know that they have been married for probably 15 years.
All right. I push myself off from the counter I'm leaning in and kind of limp over and help her.
She says, "Gentlemen, there's food in the dining room. You'll have to excuse me. I'm not a great cook."
Ms. Marlowe, your hospitality is in itself enough nourishment. I thank you for it, and I would just I would think that your children definitely need comfort at this time, and know that although you've met me before and you know my physical state, I am in the midst of men of great martial ability, rivaling that of your husband himself. And these men and I, to my ability, we will do everything possible to keep your family safe. And I hope your children are encouraged to feel the same.
She smiles and she says, "Thank you, Mr. Burke. That does mean a lot to me. I was concerned when James told me that his plan was to call on a bunch of his friends to come and help him make it through this time. I've known, of course, for a long time, and I worried that it wouldn't be enough, but having all of you here has certainly added some reassurance. I'm very thankful to all of you for what you're doing for James and for our whole family."
I don't mean to trouble you with enough troubles and then some on your mind, but we've reached out and explored everything we can. He stops, his gaze kind of sweeps around his companions here. He says, "Is there anything you could do to illuminate us from a different perspective of what you know of this curse? We've dealt with men who have known James, his father.
Maybe give us a bird's eye view.
We've even spoken with his mother."
I would like you all to make a roll at that comment.
Uh-oh.
How about, what did we say it was? for
Mother-in-laws,
social?
am I right?
Insight. Yeah.
And wit,
Quit.
because it's quick.
It's quick.
What's the rule about having enough dice?
So you're
Have 6 dice.
okay. So if you want, you can just take 3 automatic successes, which will be enough to succeed, but there will be a complication.
Like we'll make out or something?
I don't know.
That'll make things real complicated.
Who's got 3 successes? Ryan?
Kingsley.
Kingsley?
I have 3 as well.
I had
Oh,
4.
okay. All right.
No, 2.
John, no. And Matt?
I had 0.
Okay. So
Always.
Kingsley, Les, and
Silas.
Yeah. Les, you're a lot more observant than I thought you are, huh? You seem to make all these rolls.
He also
I thought you were
I
kind of a
make these
dumb
rolls. Yeah.
had like 5 successes on 2 dice.
He had 4 successes.
I'm not Brett, but I am insightful.
Okay, all right.
And
all
I
right.
did roll 4 for 4. Yeah.
Okay, you do see you all see a very quick sort of twinge of that's not good, almost. Or I mean, it could be justified as just I don't get
Mother-in-law?
along with my mother-in-law. It could just be that, but could be more. But it's a very quick micro expression almost. And she says, well, I have long suspected that the problem is linked to this place. As you know, Mr. Burke, I have spent very little time here. It wasn't until a few years ago that I officially moved the family from Baltimore to this house. We prefer living in the city. But I have long suspected that this curse has more to do with being here. And so I suggested to James that perhaps we take a vacation abroad. We get away from anything that might be connected to this, or go to Washington or somewhere more public, more secure. Call it a woman's intuition, but she looks around the hall and she says, it feels like here is the problem.
Yes, I think in retrospect, your words have great wisdom. Have you seen or experienced anything untowards or difficult to interpret?
I can't say I have. No.
Jake, the research we did in his family, we found at least a number of these incidences happening outside of the U.S., right?
Well, only
Or just the dragoon officer or whatever.
So his grandfather was the one who actually immigrated to America.
Yeah.
So before his grandfather, they all were based in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all happened in England.
Right.
Yeah. So
How
just
many
'cause-
generations does it go back? Like,
I think
like-
you guys had researched 5 or 6.
okay.
Yeah.
So 3 here, 3 there.
Correct.
Kingsley found deaths back 6 generations before Marlowe, all right before age 50.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
2 have died here.
2
his
have died
father
here,
and his
4.
grandfather.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it is tied to Black Valley, then why the other deaths in England? There are more than just the 2 here in America.
She shrugs and says, perhaps it is something or someone that has followed him here.
I think someone is pretty spot on. I mean, when we're hearing names of people, we've been hearing a lot of the same names, folks from who done attacked us down at the railroad. Seems like some of their ancestors were in the mine.
Are there any family heirlooms that have traveled with you all this way? Ones that have come from England?
She kind of looks around the house and she goes, there's hundreds of them. The Marlowes are a well-off family. They have been for many generations. And with that wealth comes objects, heirlooms and such. None.
Any coffins?
She says none in particular that come to mind, though. Except this evil ring I wear.
Well, I am famished. Perhaps we can have a meal and discuss more.
Yes, I'm going to put the children to bed. I thought it wise if they all stay in one room. I was thinking that there's a guest room near the study, and I'm going to bring them all in there. There's no windows there. It's probably more secure. I'm not sure. It seems like my husband seems to be under the mindset that we are under siege.
Yeah, yes, it very well might come down to that.
Well, I'm going to put them to bed, but if you need anything or if you have any other questions, anything I can help with.
But before you go,
Yes.
Benton's going to pull out of his satchel the cloth that he wiped up some of that black ichor on the tree branch from. He's going to pull it out, kind of open it up. If you see any of this, and he'll show it to her, it may be a sign of wherever it has been, whatever it is.
She looks at it and she goes, "Oh, ghastly."
Is she trailing that behind her as she walks?
She moves like a slug.
Matt, do you think you've met her before?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, she just kind of gives it a look and says that, and then she gives you a little bit of a smile, a sideways smile, and she excuses herself. And you guys go into the dining room and eat the poison. I mean,
The poison.
I stay still, but my eyes just like follow her as she leaves the room. Like I feel like I'm possibly in the room with a predator.
right.
So I am trying to act cool, but at the same time be on guard.
And you all, throughout that interaction, noticed her hands and the rings.
Yeah. Well, we eat the poison. So
Yep.
stamina checks.
Kingsley's just sipping on his bourbon, and he kind of picks a little bit of food and is kind of deep in thought.
Well, you must know what they're planning or what they're doing at the church, what this priest is doing. Perhaps we can somehow get a peek into what meetings they're having in secret.
I agree. Do any of you have any history on Lydia? Where she comes from?
I mean, I would have lived with her for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
In Baltimore.
You know, Ryan, you know that they actually, excuse me. Sorry, Dan, you know that they met in Boston
Okay.
because you recall,
A family portrait or something?
no, you just recall that when you first met James and told him where you were from, he said that he met his wife there.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, that's about it. Ryan, there's not much detail to know. I mean, like she is a
She's a
upper
basic bitch,
class.
I mean.
She's like an upper class, like rich girl. Like she
There weren't like cows drained to blood or
doesn't
anything.
she doesn't like work or anything.
Lydia
Yeah.
Kardashian, is
She
it?
doesn't. I mean, like she doesn't even really. She's always been good with her kids, from what you remember. But like she's at that level of rich where like she doesn't even have to like deal with them if she doesn't want to. You know? Yeah.
There's au pairs, there's nannies.
Yeah, exactly. And what she said about mostly living in Baltimore is true. I think you worked at the stable in Baltimore, so she lived there pretty much full time, like with the kids. That's where they went to school and everything.
Kingsley says that I've known Lydia. First met her at least a dozen years back, more than that, the year after she and James wed, and she's never been anything but a proper lady, appropriate and elegant. And she even said to have turned the eye of General Grant himself on that meeting.
President Grant?
Oh yeah, he's president, right? Is he president right now?
Yeah.
48, he got elected.
Ulysses.
Right meow?
Yeah. Of President Grant.
Silas, kind of looking down in thought, looks up and he says, I will admit we cannot necessarily connect her to this beast that follows Marlowe. But we do know that she was there at the tracks Her handprints were in that mud, so therefore she knows more than she is telling us. And if she's hiding something, why is she hiding it when we are here to help? She knows this.
I mean,
Unless it is a darkness.
she knows that her husband is accosted on all sides by some men that he's known and trusted. It would not be unreasonable for her to not lay full trust in us, despite knowing us. I mean, she may have known as well some of these men that have now tried at the cost of their own lives to kill her husband.
We will have to learn more somehow, some way. And I think, to your point, Mr. Fashnacht, we should investigate any information available to us. Jake, what time of day or night is it? It's evening, right?
It is late.
Late.
Yeah, you guys are exhausted. You had a full day of rushed travel through the mountains back here, and broken up by some trauma.
Yep. Not an Uber in sight. Mm-hmm. I kind of look at the lanterns on the table. Kind of, my eyes glaze over a bit, and I say, "Whatever it is, it'll have to wait till tomorrow."
We could perhaps look at this tunnel tonight.
If there is
Look
one.
for it.
I would sleep better if we knew if it existed or not.
Let us make a move then.
I think I will find rest hard to come, but perhaps digging around in root cellars is not my greatest gift. I may not be the best gunman here, but my eye doesn't miss much, and perhaps I will spell James, try to encourage him to get some rest, and make sure I believe there's a warning bell on the peak, and know that if you hear it, please move with haste.
It will be a call to arms.
Yeah.
Come. I kind of stand up and I take my rifle from leaning up against the table. It's one of the Actually,
You probably have a regular rifle at this point because
I took it from the people.
okay,
that got.
yeah, it's like a regular
Does it?
standard
This is probably really stupid. Is there like a name scratched on it or anything?
mail a home address.
Yeah.
That's actually
Black Valley
probably
citizen.
it's probably a common thing to be honest.
Yep.
But no, there's nothing specific.
What a stupid game.
So you guys are going to go in the cellar and poke around.
Yeah, spoke around.
Cool.
Does Benton? What are you doing? Because you're kind of
Yeah, I mean, I'll help you guys.
yeah.
All right.
We need our spirit mentor.
Go,
You're like
go
our guru.
take a
So
round.
Kingsley departs the four of them, and he's going to head up to Marlowe.
Okay. Are you going to relieve him or just hang out with him?
Relieve him.
Okay,
but maybe
cool.
ask him a thing or two.
Sure,
but we
sure.
can leave that.
All right. So what I'll do for all of you who are searching the basement, why don't one of you just roll for the group? And this is probably going to be investigation. And I don't know. What do you guys think? What stat would go along with that?
Good question.
Probably
Resolve?
yeah. It could be
Or wits.
resolve or wits.
Well, one of you, who's got the highest investigation?
Intelligence.
I have 0.
I have 3.
Intelligence investigation would be a little bit more of a thorough.
So,
Quick study.
Dan, you're going to make the roll for the
Yeah.
group. So you tell me
Yeah,
what you're
maybe.
rolling with investigation and why it makes sense. How
Okay.
about that?
You tell me.
You
Yes.
tell me.
We'll do this like Blades in the Dark. Like, I don't tell you what to roll.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, while we're searching, quiz Mr. Fashnacht, who's an engineer, on structural designs.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And from the layout of the house and how the house sits versus how we're moving through the basement, like, would there be supports here or maybe there's an empty space here? So we'll do it with intelligence, even though that's which is my better stat.
Sounds
but-
good.
Yep.
So take 2 extra dice for
Sweet.
Ben,
my 4 crafts.
for your health.
right.
For your help. Yeah, yeah.
It's a great way to find secret rooms in a D&D
Yeah.
dungeon.
Yeah, I love it.
Just map it out.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
map it
Draw
out.
out a map.
right.
I'm just going around knocking on walls. I mean,
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
knocking on rocks.
That looks like a lot. It's 4. 3 9s and a 7.
3 9s and a 7. 4 successes.
What is the what's this basement look like? Creepy.
Set the mood.
So no, it's not at all creepy. It's quite clean, quite well organized. There's a large section of it that looks like it's used for provisions, with a lot of like jars of pickled things on shelves and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's an area that is a wine cellar down here,
Nice.
complete with a couple kegs of wine, big wooden casks.
It's
And
like
then-
my basement.
Imagine Dan's basement.
I can
In
imagine.
fact, imagine Dan's house.
Yeah.
For listeners who don't know, Dan lives in a decrepit Addams Family style mansion.
It's facts.
Yeah.
Come get them. Come get them. They're cheap in New Bedford.
So yeah, it's dirt floor for the most part, with that kind of stone,
Like slate stone.
slate stone. Yeah, yeah. There are a few places where the floor is like solid stone. And then there's also a lot of like personal belongings, like furniture and stuff like that, covered up with sheets.
Are there any like summoning circles down here or anything?
You don't see
Salt
any right away.
or blood
you
or
don't see
an
any right
altar.
away. So you start looking around the room and you're doing that whole engineer, like, oh, you know, here, this is like an important support. Like there couldn't possibly be anything here type thing. And you don't find anything. I assume you guys are using lanterns.
Yeah.
And you hear a voice, a little girl from the darkness. She says, I know where they hide it.
What? Who's that?
Hi.
I like spin around with the lantern.
She laughs that she scared a bunch of grown ass men.
She laughs from the ceiling that she's attached to. All good.
And she comes into the lantern light, and you see that it is Constance, the oldest daughter. She's 12 years old. She has sort of strawberry blonde hair, and she's in like a nightgown, like, you know, pajamas, 1870 style.
Constance, you should be in bed. What are you doing in the basement?
Are you looking for the presents? I know where they hide them. Do you know that Christmas is only 2 days away?
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am.
Do you know what you want for Christmas?
Well,
I think all of us kind of relax a little now that
I made a list, but I don't know. I feel like I have so much. I don't feel right asking for more.
but you're spying on your presents.
I know where they hide them. My brother and sister, they still think that they're from Santa Claus. She runs over to a wall and she moves a stone. And sure enough, there are wrapped up gifts behind it.
How big is this stone?
It's not. It's like a piece of wood in front of, or like along the stone wall.
Sure.
And it's like it looks like maybe it was a fireplace at one point, but there are presents in it.
Well,
And she says, don't open them though. We can't open them until Christmas. And then she says, I should go to bed.
yeah. Well,
Cut to upstairs on the roof. Marlowe is smoking a pipe. He's got a
Huge plug.
got a rifle on his lap, and he's sitting on like this banister on the roof, essentially.
I step out of the kind of balcony door or whatever and kind of regard him for a moment and say, sometimes, James, I see your silhouette and I can't help but see Charlie there. My parents would probably wish the resemblance was as strong between he and I. I kind of limp over to him. I say, you're a better shot than me, but I think you and I both know my eye is as keen as yours.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Does this bell work and the peak?
he nods.
Well, that will be my weapon. And you can rest well knowing that I wouldn't be anything but drowsy with what I've seen today.
He says, how many pulls you had off that bottle?
I kept it to 2. A gentleman's 2.
Which bottle was he asking about? Because there were a couple.
Say, James,
I suppose this is not what you expected when you got my letter.
it was not. I can't lie, James. The things I've seen, experienced, my mind is grappling with the very fabric of what I took for granted.
I am there with you. When you first arrived, the way that you laid it out, you made it seem so logical. Maybe it's just a group of men. Maybe it's a cult or a conspiracy. It all, in a weird way, was reassuring. It made me think perhaps there isn't something lurking. But what I saw, what happened at that cabin.
What did you see, James? Can you tell me? Did you see anything of this? What did that?
All I saw was a shadow. It looked almost human, but it was a shadow with substance. A shadow that could grab a man and pull him into the darkness.
The two things can both exist. The fact that this is some sort of conspiracy, some sort of cult, some sort of agenda, all these things still are in play. But I cannot ignore that there is something else. James, I need to ask you, how well do you know Benton, and what do you know of this man and the gifts he claims to have? Because if there's anyone whose eyes have not been blown wide open by all these things, it is him. I do not say this to cast doubt on his character, but he seems the only one that accepts these things as an understanding of a world that he already looked to.
There was a battle in Louisiana. We lost terribly. We were routed. Many of my men were injured. Benton led us through the swamp. He helped us to escape with maybe 30 soldiers into the swamp. Many of them had gunshots. You know what happens to a man with an open wound when he's in that sort of place, right? I thought for sure we'd all die there. I was desperate enough to follow Benton, who at that time I did not even know. But I knew he knew the terrain, and I knew that he at least believed in things that were beyond what men like you and I believe in. He found us a dry place to lay, but again, I worried about the wounds of my men. We made camp, and what I saw that night, I will never forget, but I swear to you it was real. The wounds of my men began to glow.
Glow.
They did. They glowed with a otherworldly light. And every man whose wounds glowed lived. They did not get infected. They did not lose a limb. We limped back to our camp, but we limped back. Benton knew that would happen in that swamp. He knew that they would be safe. The men call it the angel's glow. Benton knew about it. That was the day that I knew that when I turned 50, I would need him there.
James, when we set out from Baltimore, and I met this group, most of whom I was some degree familiar with, and I'd met Benton before, had a curious interchange with him, some kind of reading he claimed, which found disturbing. And as we made our way out here, I feared to not understand why this man who was so much of an outsider to you and to us and this place. And now I think that maybe he is the only one home here and we are all the outsiders. I do not think that he regards me highly, and I maybe do not blame him for the lack of faith I've given in his beliefs. But perhaps if you can coax more out of him, I think he is the only one that is ready to help us understand what we're facing here. But please, James, rest. We need your strength.
He pats you on the shoulder, and as he starts climbing down, he says, Just don't forget, Kingsley. I wanted Benton here for what he sees, but I asked for each of you for a different reason. You all have a part to play.
If you say so, James, I'll wait for mine. For now, it'll be my eyes.
Meanwhile, down in the basement, there are gifts in there, but you don't find anything else. It's not... Maybe you could hide a person in there, but there's no sign of any sort of tunnel or anything.
Yeah, like put my lantern inside to see if it goes beyond.
Yeah.
Just looks like a simple fireplace. Yeah.
Part of an old scullery, maybe.
Yeah.
See?
Benton.
Sometimes the dreams is only a dream. The details aren't the truth. The meaning is the important part.
Yeah. Well, I feel better that there's no secret entrance. Noah chuckles. Perhaps we can sleep soundly tonight. At least for a little while.
Silas is kind of slowly nodding, looking at the space.
You, Dan, Silas does that thing where you're nodding and you kind of like fall asleep as you're, you know, that like nod, like, oh, I'm awake.
Yep.
Mr. One stamming over there. You're all pretty tired.
Yeah.
I turn back towards the stairs with my lantern and start walking out.
All right.
Yeah.
So we don't have to figure out exactly who does watches when, but at some point you all get some sleep, and I'd like you all to make a little roll for me now as you close your eyes to go to sleep and think about that horrible cabin where all those men had been ripped apart, body parts on top of the roof and blood on tree branches, and you all lose 2 willpower minus whatever you succeed on your composure and resolve roll.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, let's hope I get
Composure
at least 2 successes.
and resolve.
Okay.
2 for Kingsley.
Yeah, 2 or 3 actually.
4 for Les Kershaw. Ryan,
Jesus.
turn in those dice immediately. Are those speckled by any chance?
I got 2 as well.
I do
Yeah, I
believe I,
got 2.
have seen Beyond the Veil.
Oh, yeah,
So,
you had the bonus. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
I
I should
have-
have mentioned that. Yep.
Yeah, I got
So everyone made that roll.
We're all
you
into
all-
that stuff.
Yeah.
You all lived through the Civil War.
Burke over here is kind of still disculling it. So
Well, I mean, regardless of whether or not it were supernatural, it was a horrific scene.
Yes.
So you all go to sleep thinking about that horrific scene. And
Little girls in the basement.
let's start with... Who wants to start?
I probably will take like last watch first up. Benton would probably try to make breakfast for the family and everybody.
Okay. So, Matt, before you wake up, while you are sleeping, you have a dream.
eating all of your friends.
You are in a basement with a bunch of people who are runaway slaves. They are scared. It's cold. It's dark. And they don't know how long they have to wait here. And this little boy, who is probably 6 or 7 years old, is standing at the wall, looking up at the corner of the wall and talking to someone through a crack. And the little boy says, "What's your name?" And you hear a girl's voice say, "My name's Constance. I live here." "How long will you be here in my basement?" And he says, I don't know until the wagon comes to bring us north. And the girl says, "I heard you're going to Canada. I heard it's really cold there." And there's silence for a moment. And she says, "I'll go get you some food." And that is all.
Good people on both sides.
Meanwhile, John.
Yeah.
Describe to me what Noah's shop looks like in Baltimore.
It's like a detached garage. Think of Dan's carriage house. A large warehouse.
Our listeners are going to be like, "Who is this millionaire?"
I assure you.
No, but like a large, like basically 2 carriage sized garage.
Okay.
Machine shop.
Okay.
With various like lathes and mill equipment. With a lot of his actual wares up in the attic space where he keeps kind of his experimental weaponry.
Let's hope we never do a Patreon and try to convince people to contribute to the podcast.
Dan needs more carriage houses.
We need that third carriage.
I need you to fix it.
The levels in the Patreon will be where in Dan's house they stay. Yeah, carriage house is the
lowest
opening,
one.
yeah, the opening level for the subscribers.
Is it all steam powered? Most of your
Patreons?
machines? Like it's belt driven?
Yeah, I think it would be steam powered.
think, yeah.
Some of it would be hand powered, probably, but there is not really an electricity right now.
Not quite.
No.
I mean, he's coming out with it in New York City.
Yeah,
But-
yeah,
Very limited.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Tesla?
Not really. Yeah.
Nikolai Tesla?
yeah,
Tesla's working on it, and then
He's doing crazy shit right
Edison-
now, right?
yeah.
Edison is gonna light up the
Steal it
first
all.
neighborhood in New York City in the
First
70s.
elephant.
Oh, he's already would have several elephants at this point. Yeah. R.I.P. Topsy.
But yeah, there's a big water tank steam engine for a lot of the larger equipment, but
Cool.
some of it's hand driven.
All right. It is late November, early December. Has your character met Lydia Marlowe previously?
Probably at like a distance. Most of my interaction with James was in the war, but afterwards when we went hunting, I would go there. We'd go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd say hi.
So you'd see her at dinner,
hi,
probably.
bye, yeah.
She walks into your shop. You don't recognize her at first. It takes you a minute, but she lives in Baltimore, so it's not. Oh, at this point, she does not live in Baltimore. She lives in Black
So
Valley.
it's odd.
Yeah. And she says, "Mr. Fashnuck?"
Yeah. Frau Marlowe.
Yes.
But
I'm so sorry to show up unannounced. But I
that's no problem.
was in Baltimore and I thought I would pay you a visit.
No, like wipes his greasy hands off on his like leather apron he has on. But
She kind of walks in and starts looking at these curious machines
Yeah.
and weapons.
some of which are already probably boxed up for travel to Europe.
Yep. She says, "I was hoping you could do me a favor, actually.
Of course.
John, give me a resolve and composure roll.
Okay.
This roll will determine how much of what is about to happen you
You
recall."
remember?
Okay. 2.
2.
Yep. Can't roll over a 2 today.
She says, "You're going to receive a letter from my husband any day now, asking you to come to our house in Black Valley. I need you to bring something with you." And that is...
Okay.
And you wake up. Ryan,
Yes.
you are awoken by Wakara kicking you. Tell us what Wakara looks like.
He's about actually, he's probably still about 16. So he's a young Native American of the Ute tribe. So he's, wearing traditional, so probably fairly modern, like, dressed as someone in the West would be. About that time. So yeah, so maybe quasi cowboy dressed. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think he has any visible wounds?
Yeah. He's got shot. He's
Okay.
So red down, probably most on his left side, like mostly.
He kicks you, wakes you up.
What?
You're in your bed in Marlowe's house, where you just went to sleep, and he says, "You got to get ready. There's a lot to do today."
What are you doing here? What's going on?
We have to talk. Have you figured out what's going on here?
No.
Your companions are. They're figuring it out. They're going to figure it out before you, and then you're going to have to pick a side. You're going to have to decide what to do. You know, you have strength. And he points to, like, your arm, and then he taps you on the head, and he says, "But you do not have strength." It's like, you need to understand. You need to understand who is predator and who is prey.
I'm trying to understand, but aren't we all both? I don't, because they're the townsfolk are coming from Marlowe, but then
You're a warrior. When democracy fails, it's men like you that make decisions. Yes?
okay.
So make sure you know who is the wolf that wields the flame.
The wolf that the wolf that wields
You forget
the
the
flame.
story that Sheila told you already. She was a wise woman. You should have listened.
I did listen. I just didn't finish listening to the prior episode.
One willpower.
Fitting. I actually saw a meme that was like, not writing down information because I'm lazy, not writing down information because my character is dumb. He's gone.
Yeah.
And you hear his voice one last time, and he says, "If you screw this one up, I'll take the reins." And let me remind you, Ryan, that you took both merit and flaw.
I did.
All right. Let me look at my little notes here. I went out of order. All right. Sorry, one moment.
Fuck you, Dan. He gave me the chicken is a familiar.
Dan, tell me about your photo studio in Baltimore. Do you have one?
I probably work out of a shop front, but most of my equipment packs up in the actual wagon. As I probably take it while I travel. So the studio is probably a kind of more traditional brick structure that I rent space from while I'm staying in the city. And it's set up with kind of the front part of it as a greeting area. And then the back half of it has like some staged areas with couches and chairs and things like that for people to pose in front of. Probably a few of those drop down landscapes, those big painted canvas landscapes that people can stand in front of.
Okay.
So it's kind of the lay of the land.
Laser background.
Definitely a laser
That's
background.
the premium photo
Yeah.
package.
Lydia comes into your shop. She is not unannounced. She asked you to take some photos of her for James
Sexy
for
photos.
his 50th birthday.
Nice.
You've already received the letter at this point. And she comes in and she says, "Oh, Mr. Keene, thank you for seeing me on such short notice. You must be busy preparing."
Yes, it was an unexpected letter that your husband sent, but I am happy to do what I can for him.
Excellent. Will we be
Here,
hearing?
just through here, I've set up a backdrop that I think will be appropriate, and I'll take some photos.
Okay. You start this process of taking photos, which I assume is not very easy at this point in history.
It's all daguerreotypes, and it's a lot of, still posing. They have, at this juncture, it's not quite as long as the original ones, like hold for a minute kind of thing. It's about 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
So, and it's mostly transferred onto glass plates. So there's a lot of kind of crates of these glass plates where I store them. And I'll take those and
I get it. I've seen Wikipedia too.
I want to hear more. I want to
And,
hear the process as you're doing
That's what I'm doing as I take her
these
photo.
glass plates. Do you immediately get an image that you can view, or
Yes.
yeah,
Yep. They're
like
burned onto
on the glass?
Yep.
Neat. And then you develop, as you develop it, you enlarge it. Yeah, cool. Give me a resolve and composure roll.
Yeah. This is how you resist dominate, ladies and gentlemen. 2, 4, 5.
I don't know what you're talking about.
wits and composure.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4 successes.
4 successes.
Those
Okay.
composure and resolve.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is composure and resolve.
Sure. I'll
Shit.
re-roll because I only have 5 dice.
Less dice. All right,
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
Just trying to make it fair for John over there.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm going to spend
Mind
a
fart.
dream willpower so it doesn't actually count.
Yeah.
2 successes.
Okay. As she is posing and you're taking these pictures, you feel your mind start to almost get hazy. The flash of the camera is almost weirdly hypnotic. And she says, you just remember her saying, "Are you finished packing for the trip?" And when you wake up, you realize that you don't remember her coming, and you never developed the picture of her.
Okay.
Josh,
I thought I was going to get out of this one.
you have a really nice dream, actually.
Oh, cool.
Fully erect.
You have a dream. Do you think your character has ever been to the White House?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably not like on a personal, like one-on-one with the president, but
You went on a tour once. Yeah.
Okay. You are in the East Room of the White House at a party, a celebration. The East Room of the White House is this enormous kind of function hall. It's got these 3 giant chandeliers. You are standing in front of a picture, a painting of Martha Washington. And you kind of look around at a lot of your friends and people you went to Georgetown with, and a lot of people that you have known for many years. And President Grant walks over to you, former President Grant, because you know that he has just finished his 2nd term. And as of today, it is 1877. And as of today, he is no longer the president.
You are.
And he says to you, "What do you think?"
well, I'd say it's a mother of the country as much as any other, Mr. President.
Mother of the country. It's worth remembering the expression, how does it go? Behind every great man is a great woman.
Yes, quite.
I feel it never did justice to the great women. This country wouldn't be what it is without Martha Washington, without many great women. We don't give them enough credit sometimes. President Marlowe, for example, he turns and you see James across the room, and he says, where would he be without his wife by his side?
I think Kingsley, maybe he realizes, or he thinks he's now like realizing he's in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
He says, yes, a great man and a great woman.
He pats you on your back and he says, congratulations on your appointment. And you wake up.
Fully.
I was almost there. I close my eyes, try to fall back asleep. What? My secretary, vice president? Come on.
All right, everyone is awake and alive.
Mostly.
And you all make your way downstairs. at some
Super
point.
awkward breakfast.
Yeah, Benton woke up early and he's on
And made
last
breakfast?
watch, so yeah, he made breakfast.
Awesome.
Army cook.
Oh, what do you make?
Eggs, grits.
Let's get into this. Let's do a deep fucking dive.
He went out. He colored up some of those greens.
Love
he
it.
Went out and
Are you guys ready for revenge against Matt? Matt, make a cooking roll.
wait, what skill is that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
If you don't have it,
If you don't have it,
oh,
you
this is gonna be the
fucked up.
worst breakfast ever.
I think we decided it was under craft.
Craft.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I do.
Kraft macaroni and cheese.
And
Brought to you by
Matt, you
Kraft.
tell me, Mr. Cook, what attribute would you use?
I would say probably dexterity to keep all the pans going and everything to get timed
All right,
out properly.
Give me a craft
bouncing
and
around.
give me a craft and dexterity roll.
When I make my food,
It's
it's
cook.
about the
If you
passion.
do have cooking, so I think you add an extra die. Totally
Okay.
unnecessary, but fucking
3.
he makes us do this
Yeah.
all the time. 3. Damn, I was
3
hoping to nail
successes.
that.
For listeners behind the scene, Matt is running a game right now. We may have dived into some deep
stew.
There's a lot of stew cooking. And
There's
whenever we
entire
fuck up a
tables.
stew cooking, he is brutal. Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
the highest roll in our entire campaign came about while making a stew.
Yep, for sure.
I mean,
It was-
there was
it
a
was
lot of
dank.
help.
Yeah,
It was a collaborative effort.
There was,
See,
there's
teamwork
advantage.
makes the dream work.
Yep.
All right. So
Bardic inspiration.
3 successes. That is a success. That is a complete success. So you all make your way down. It is normal. Sorry. It's good.
Benton. Just quite the surprise.
Bonjour. You'll need your strength for whatever is to come, yes?
Yeah.
We made it through the night.
Is Lydia there?
It's just the 5 of you.
Okay.
I had not seen the rest of the family yet. Maybe they slept in. A little extra stress, yes?
Benton, I think your ability or whatever is rubbing off on me. I had a dream last night.
Oui?
A memory perhaps that I didn't remember, but now
Silas is watching you very carefully, and he's slowly pouring out a cup of coffee. He looks disheveled.
I think Frau Marlowe, she came to my shop in Baltimore before I got the letter. Now I'm studying French. Before I got the letter from Marlowe to come here.
I had the same dream.
Truly.
Or coming to my studio and asking if I had packed, but I could feel the confusion in the dream.
Yeah.
Silas looks kind of distraught by it, and he's like rubbing his head, trying to recall the details of the dream, and then looks frustrated and begins drinking his coffee.
You need to eat. He's gonna pile some like grits and bacon eggs onto your plate. It will help.
Kingsley looks more lively than last night, and he actually is piling up some food on a plate. He says, well, I don't say we should discount anything. I think we also need to remember, I think we've all had dreams before. I myself had a dream last night, quite pleasant. I was part of President Marlowe's cabinet. So let us not forget that our minds are racing to grapple with the events of the day, and perhaps we don't all have Mr. Beauclair's gifts, whatever it is.
Yeah, that is probably what is happening. We are just trying to fill in the blanks, yeah? Well, Noah kind of shrugs and starts cutting up some bacon.
What is our agenda today, gentlemen? Silas kind of is sitting. He's just still drinking coffee. He hasn't started eating yet.
Matt,
Yeah.
you, based on the dream you had, you think you know where she was talking, like where against the wall. If you want, you could have already checked it out.
Yeah.
So you didn't look in depth, but you found that crack in the floor in the basement against a wall, behind the presence, and you know that there's a room back there. You don't think that there is a way to get into it without busting your way in, but you know there's a room back there. Yeah, so you already have that information when you eat breakfast.
Okay.
You needed 5 successes in the basement.
Dear Lord,
wow.
just missed it.
I had a dream as well. This was in the past. The young one, Constance, when she was much younger, she knows of another room behind the fireplace in the basement. She talked to the children. I check it. It's there.
There is another room then.
We eat strength. Only way in is to break a wall.
Jake, does that track timing wise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's 12.
She's 12. Okay.
Well, if there is a wall now, perhaps it's not a good idea to break it down, yeah? To leave it there.
Or perhaps barricade it further.
Yeah.
Maybe find out where it goes. Oui. Barricade, but you're still underneath.
This is a
Your
mining
dream.
town.
You bring. What did she tell you? She tell you to bring your chemical, yeah? And you? Your gun?
Well,
Where
that is
they
assuming,
now?
That is assuming that this dream of mine and his true. Well, they are just dreams, yeah?
Sometimes. Sometimes their dream is the dream. Sometimes their dream is a memory.
The tunnel is dangerous. I agree. This is a mining town, and they could have the means to do serious damage to the house if they were able to get in, even to the tunnel. We should see where it goes.
I think we had to talk to Mr. Marlowe, yeah? It is his house.
Agreed. And what about this church? These people, Mr. Burke, you spoke of them?
Yes, assuming there are any left alive of whatever this cult or organization conspiracy was. It is possible there are more, but I can only imagine that the numbers are dwindled if there are any left. I had time to do quite a bit of thinking up on the Widow's Watch. And, well, I guess I must, in a way, apologize if I've been perhaps short-sighted to some of your observations, especially yours, Mr. Beauclair. And let's just say that there are things occur in this town that, and around it, that are beyond my previous understanding of the world, and there may be more than we've understood before. And perhaps that is the nature of humanity, is pulling back the veil bit by bit, and perhaps we've pulled back a bit more than we expected here. And that does not mean that some of our hypotheses are not on the right path. That there still seems to be a conspiracy afoot that traces back generations. It seems to be tied in some way to this place. And in addition, the place this came from, which was indeed resettled from England. So I'm no tactician. I am no man of the spirits. He looks at Benton when he says that. I would say that I trust in whatever you all think is the best thing to do to keep our safety while we are here and keep James and his kin safe. And when that rail line is repaired, we get ourselves on it and we get out of this place with the Marlowes. And
Maybe the wisest course of action.
Yeah.
I will say that our time must be short. If they have, in fact, found out that their townsmen, that the men of the town have died, they will have processed that information and will be looking to make the next move.
Is it Christmas Eve?
It's the 23rd of December.
Okay.
So we got 10 days.
You know what that means, guys? This is a Christmas story.
Like Die Hard.
It's a Christmas podcast.
So, how do you propose to get in the church? You say they probably know they lost 1,000 men or more now. They be on guard. We are here to protect Marlowe. They are here to kill Marlowe. Opposing forces. Huh?
You make a good point.
You ever ask why? Why? Why do he have to die? Huh?
That is a very good question.
When we get here, I ask you to sacrifice, huh? No matter the cost. 14? How many more?
However many it takes, Mr. Beauclair.
I think we're up to 16.
Why?
And we'll end it there. And next week, we will find out just how many do have to die.
We're fucked.
Well, we didn't bring the mass explosives and the Gatling gun, so it'll be less.
Kingsley's in the back. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Nastagram RPG podcast. A few quick thanks for our badass intro music, A Wilhelm Scream. They have an awesome new album, Lose Your Delusion. Go check it out. For our outro music, Adrian Von Ziegler. All scores are by Adrian Von Ziegler and Antti Marttikainen. No Dean on this arc, but if you want to listen to him, check out the great shows over at Liberty Street Geek, The Lost Drive-In, Kirking Off for your Star Trek love, and Mind Killer for some Dune talk. Lastly, guys, this is our 4th arc, and we are loving it. We have a lot more planned. To do that, we need you. You hear it all the time, but it's true. Podcasts won't exist without listeners, and we need your support and involvement. Ratings, reviews do make a huge difference, and so does telling people about the show. People that like role-playing game, people that like storytelling, anybody think that might dig this. So spread the word, spread the love. We got a lot more coming. See you next week.
That's nasty.
You don't think that there is a way to get into it without busting your way in, but you know there's a room back there. Nice. Can I get one?
This is very precisely timed.
Oh, no, that Diet Coke.